Splitgate 2, you might have heard about it. It's a first-person shooter with portals. Recently, the news about it have not always been positive. First, the controversial appearance of the studio CEO at the Summer Games Fest, and more recently there's talk about dwindling player numbers, even though the studio paid a lot of streamers to promote the game. Even had a whole in-game event around it. XQC, Timmy Tenders, and even the Ogre King himself, aka Tyler 1's brother. And I have to say, I'm not surprised seeing the numbers go down, because the game doesn't offer anything interesting. Yes, the portal mechanic is a novel concept and all, but as someone who really liked the first Splitgate, can I be honest for a moment? I liked the first Splitgate in spite of the portal mechanic, not because of it. And because I think I'm a pretty average guy, with average opinions, I bet I'm not alone. And I liked Splitgate 1 despite it being about using portals, because it was a breath of fresh air, even if we ignore the portal mechanic. These days, every shooter is just a variation of 3 concepts that just get regurgitated by different studios and games in the hopes of getting a bite out of the cake that is the shooter market. It's either a Call of Duty wannabe, a hero shooter, or a Counter-Strike wannabe. These seem to be the 3 winning formulas. But once upon a time, there was another formula, which is sadly on life support since around 2010, due to the last bastion holder of this subgenre also going downhill ever since. I'm talking about arena shooters. I made a whole video about Halo and how Halo lost its essence after 2010. And Halo was the last line of defense against its biggest rival genre, the loadout shooter, the polar opposite of the arena shooter. An arena shooter is a game where you shoot people, that one is obvious of course, and where all around the map are power-ups and weapons that spawn periodically and predictably. Every player starts with the exact same equipment every time they spawn in. If we take Halo 3 as an example, a normal Social Slayer match gives every player a grenade, a magnum, and an assault rifle. In Ranked, the so-called BR start variant was preferred, where you start with a battle rifle. But the main point is, everyone is equal. No one has a material advantage or disadvantage due to the weapons they unlocked or perks they unlocked, etc. Because there is no weapons or perks to unlock. And that's where Splitgate 1 comes in. Splitgate 1 was Halo, with portals, quite literally. If you took the portals out of Splitgate, you would be left with a Halo clone that has a little jetpack booster. You'd basically have Halo Reach, but everyone has the jetpack. And that's why I liked it. And due to me not being special, I'm just a dude, and most people are just average people, I simply assume that I'm not alone. I bet, just like me, a lot of people loved Splitgate 1 because they also loved Halo. And remember, Halo Infinite was not yet released when Splitgate 1 came out. It wasn't even released yet when the very late console port of Splitgate 1 came out, that completely revitalized the game at the time, and which made their servers completely die due to the onslaught of new players trying to play the game. Sadly, these server issues that resulted in endless queuing times and crashes that then led to more queuing times were probably what broke the game's neck, as after weeks of that happening, people just eventually gave up. But I didn't. I stayed. Because finally there was a good new Halo-like game. Halo 4 was trash, with its loadouts and kill streaks. Halo 5 was trash, with its cumbersome controls and esports focus. There just wasn't a good alternative to Halo, until Splitgate 1 came along. I stayed with Splitgate 1, because even though the portal mechanic was a bit annoying at times, the core of it was a decent Halo-like experience. It was a new arena shooter in a market dominated and engulfed in Call of Duties, Overwatches, and Battle Royales. A breath of fresh air. And then Splitgate 2 was announced, and at first I was ecstatic. But the happiness quickly faded when they announced that they would change things. And not just things like weapon balance or maybe the physics or the portal mechanics. No. They would quite literally change the entire genre of the game. It was Halo 4 all over again. In my video about Halo I went over this, but basically with Halo 4, the then newly assigned Halo studio, 343 Industries, tried to chase trends. These trends were essentially all led by Call of Duty, the main ones being unlockable weapons, unlockable perks, unlockable abilities, and unlockable grenades. Players would then build their own loadouts with these unlockables, just like Call of Duty. And like I said earlier, that kind of shooter is the counter-opposite of an arena shooter. The counter-opposite of what Halo was until then. Well, Reach already put a dent in the arena shooter concept of Halo, but Halo 4 then fully jumped on the loadout shooter bandwagon. So you can imagine the Vietnam flashback-like reaction I had to the announcement that Splitgate 2 would not only have unlockable weapons, unlockable perks, unlockable grenades, etc., but would also then split these into 3 classes, where the game basically also tried to jump onto the hero shooter bandwagon under the guise of calling them classes instead of giving them actual hero names and personalities. Halo 4 Part 2: Electric Boogaloo. I essentially instantly lost interest in the game. I tried it, of course, because it's free to play, might as well. But it just is a non-starter for me. The game that I liked, despite the portal mechanics, was suddenly copying games that we already have plenty of, while retaining the one thing I wasn't fully on board with in the first game. And yes, they might have limited time modes that could try to emulate the original game, or have custom games that allow you to play like the first one in private lobbies. But that's just not the same though. If the main mode of play heavily focuses on loadouts and unlockables and class abilities, it's not really a consolation that there might be a niche or even time-limited way to play it like the first game. And all of this made the CEO's appearance at the Summer Games Fest so offensive. It wasn't the stupid MAGA parody hat he was wearing. Only absolute idiots would give a shit about that, let's be real. The offensive part for me was him having the gall to essentially badmouth Call of Duty and the general shooter landscape, while at the same time releasing a sequel to a shooter whose genre, the arena shooter, is insanely underrepresented and desperately in the need of an injection of fresh blood, and then turning that sequel into a game that simply copies current trends. The only reason Splitgate 2 has loadouts is the same reason Halo 4 had loadouts, Call of Duty. And you know that's true. The only reason it has classes is because shooters with hero abilities like Apex Legends, Marvel Rivals, Overwatch, and Valorant are popular. The gall to chase safe trends in the shooter landscape and then go on stage and stand on a pedestal saying you want to make shooters great again. Are you fucking serious, my guy? Make them great again how? By adding a Battle Royale? A mode everyone does nowadays? Ironically, that Battle Royale is actually closer in concept to the first game than the other main modes, since in a Battle Royale, you start with a minimal loadout and have to find guns on the map. Battle Royale modes also originated in arena shooters, of course at a smaller scale. Like even old games like Time Splitters 2 had Battle Royale modes where you had to survive and had limited lives until only one person was still standing. So I'm not even mad about the Battle Royale mode. But to even try to make it seem like you aren't trying to follow the exact same trends with loadouts, hero abilities, battle royales, battle passes, item shops, it's just such a joke to try and sell this game as something that tries to be different. Splitgate 1 was different, at least in the modern landscape. Splitgate 1 was a game in a shooter subgenre that is almost dead, where aside from Halo 5, no real big title released in more than a decade at the time Splitgate 1 released. But Splitgate 2? It's just a generic modern shooter with portals added. And the issue therein being, most people don't want to get good at using portals, especially on controller, where advanced portal controls are extremely cumbersome to use, unless you have a controller with extra buttons. And remember what I said about Splitgate 1. I liked it despite the portals, because it had other qualities I didn't get anywhere else. The qualities of a modern iteration of a Halo game. It was the only decent alternative, so I stuck with it, even though the portals annoyed me a bit, just not enough to make me stop playing it. Splitgate 2 though? Who is it catering to? Not me, the fan of classic Halo games, that's for sure. It's catering to Call of Duty players, to hero shooter players, to Battle Royale players. And will they stick around in spite of the portal mechanics that they might not like all that much? No, they won't. Why? Because they have alternatives. They have Call of Duty, a new one every year in fact. They have Apex Legends, Fortnite, Warzone. They have other games to fall back to. Plenty of them. and brand new ones as well. Halo players only had Halo and Splitgate 1. It was an open spot in the market, waiting to be filled with new blood, and you squandered it. You threw it away in the pursuit of trends. Halo 4 did the same, and lost players faster than any Halo game before and after it. After an initial influx of players, it completely tanked as Halo players went back to Halo 3 and Halo Reach, and Call of Duty players went back to their yearly Call of Duty releases. They had alternatives, and left it in the dust. And just like that, players now leave Splitgate 2 in the dust.